Hello and welcome to another great session of Power Hour. Today we have with us Lisette Cullen, and I'm so glad you're able to be with us from the Poison Control Centers of Tampa. Today's topic is e-cigarettes and vaping and how what look for is that we can protect our children, our babies from this crazy epidemic of vaping. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Lisette. Lisette, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for that warm welcoming, Angela. Thank you for the Hillsborough County School District for letting us use your platform again to share all these series of webinars. And like you mentioned, these are recorded on the YouTube channel, so you could go back, watch it on your own time, at your own convenience. Play it to your children, your relatives. So this is great. I'm really appreciative for what you're doing. So today we're going to be talking about this hot topic, electronic cigarettes or e-cigarettes and vaping. This is, I'm a parent of 3 children myself. One is a teen and the other one are younger adults. And this is a topic that is very close to our families and our society. A lot of schools have signs, very visible and displayed, about tobacco-free campus with symbols, very explicit, of no smoking or chewing tobacco, or even when they've added new ones like electronic cigarettes or vaping devices. So more than 2.5 million youth have reported use of electronic cigarettes in the past year, 2022. Today we're going to cover, I like to start with myth and facts of electronic cigarettes. We're going to review some sources of nicotine. You're going to be surprised. We're going to identify the components and different generations of e-cigarettes. We're going to discuss the e-liquid. That's the liquid that goes inside the devices. We're going to go roughly cover, since we're not law enforcement or anything, but we're going to cover about some regulation status. We're going to describe the toxicity on nicotine. And we're going to identify and discuss vaping-related health concerns, some data from poison centers nationally, and we're going to talk about the services of the Poison Center and some resources that will help you with the e-cigarette and stopping. So let's go over, like we said, about myth or facts. Vaping can be highly addictive. So you think this is a myth or a fact? It is a fact. So the nicotine that has been found in electronic cigarettes, it makes it potentially an addictive habit. The next one, is it a myth or a fact that using vapes or e-cigarettes is less harmful than using regular cigarettes? It is a myth. E-cigarettes often contain nicotine and other harmful substances, making it addictive and dangerous. Most electronic cigarettes are also flavored. It makes them more appealing or easier to smoke among youth. This is a brand name. 1 puff bar is equivalent to 20 cigarettes. So this is pretty impressive on the strength or the amount of nicotine that a person can consume, especially a young teen or young adult. Another myth or fact, vaping does not correlate with smoking regular cigarettes. I think kind of like the first one gave it away. So it is a myth. Research has found that younger people who take up vaping are 4 times more likely to smoke traditional cigarettes a year later. So This is a picture. I'm not a neuroscientist or a neurosurgeon, but you can see there's a very distinct difference on the images of a smoker brain versus a non-smoker. The next myth or fact, e-cigarettes are a great smoking cessation aid. It is a myth. The Food and Drug Administration has not approved electronic cigarettes as a quit smoking aid. And we need more research to whether electronic cigarettes are effective for quitting smoking and to better understand the health effects of e-cigarettes. A recent study found that most people who intended to use e-cigarettes to kick the nicotine habit, to quit it, ended up continuing to smoke both the traditional cigarettes and the electronic cigarettes. So what is nicotine? And we see a picture of tobacco plant. It's an alkaloid found in several plants. It's not just mainly what we know the tobacco plant, but it's also found in potatoes and eggplants, among other plants. It could be chewed or smoked. The invention of electronic cigarettes was back in 2003, with a highly successful ad campaign, equal nicotine dependency in the pandemic of today. Nicotine is highly addictive. The Center of Disease Control did a national health survey in 2019, and 20.8% of adults in the United States that use tobacco products, including 4.5 use electronic cigarettes, were mostly young adults. And over half of those were not former smokers before, so they didn't use it as a quitting device with that purpose. So with that being said, now we have a whole new generation of young people who are addicted to nicotine, many of whom started with electronic cigarettes, not just the regular traditional cigarette. So other than plants, there are other sources of nicotine. So in the tobacco, like cigarette, pipe tobacco, chewing or smokeless, like the electronic cigarettes. Also, nicotine is present on nicotine replacement therapy, like gum, lozenges, patches, nasal sprays, or inhalant. It's also on the e-liquid for refilling the e-cigarettes, the pods, inside the pods, the cartridges, the refill bottles. And also, surprisingly, many of you don't know, it's also present in insecticides. It's used for agriculture to, not have insects in the plant so they don't destroy the crops or the fruits. It's also in products for flea control for dogs and cats. Here's a picture of, there are many variety, but these are pictures of several devices, also called ENDS is the acronym, ENDS, that stands for Electronic Nicotine Delivery Systems, ENDS. It comes in many shapes and colors. This is pretty much how it works. They all need a battery. It's like a source of power. They have an atomizer, which is kind of like a coiled shape. That's what that heats the element that heats the e-liquid. Some, you need a container or a bottle to manually refill. It's the e-liquid sometimes comes in the cartridge, the sealed cartridge. So pretty much the e-liquid is nicotine with flavors, vegetable, glycerine, that's what VG stands for, or PG, that is propylene glycol. Some have a tank or a cartridge, that's where the e-liquid is inside, or refillable or replaceable. And the aerosol is the heated liquid that is inhaled. There are types of vape pens that are disposable. So, here you can see the structure, kind of like together or put away, separated. You can see how it looks inside. And the other one are the refillables. They're called tanks. And kind of like the word gives it away. It has like a little compartment, like a tank. Muds or APVs. These are pod mods that have the pre-filled cartridge. And so you could see, they're pretty disguisable, very discreet. It's easy to be concealed. And these are kind of like how the containers for e-liquids look. And like I mentioned earlier, it's a combination of nicotine, vegetable glycerin, flavors, and propylene glycol. So the type of nicotines, they have nicotine salts. You can see on top what looks like a rainbow is the pH scale. So, 7 being neutral, towards the left are more acidic and more alkaline. So the regular, the traditional cigarettes, or what it's called free-base nicotine, are more alkaline, and the other ones towards the left, the electronic cigarettes, are more like nicotine salts. So the substance, what's in the e-liquid, are volatile organic compounds, the nicotine, ultrafine particles that affect the lungs. They also have cancer-causing chemicals, heavy metals, like nickel, tin, and lead, and flavoring, such as diacetyl, is a chemical linked to a serious lung disease. And we're just gonna go over the surface on that later. So as you can see, all these chemicals are present on the e-liquid. That is what it's inhaled on the electronic cigarettes, and are very harmful substances. This is a graph, it's a bar graph of electronic cigarettes and liquid nicotine cases. And this covers all ages. And it's recent, from 2013 to last year. We don't have this year's data yet. But poison centers began receiving calls about electronic cigarettes and liquid nicotine products in 2011. This is a recent product in the market. These products often contain a greater concentration of nicotine than other nicotine tobacco products on the market. Like I mentioned earlier, they have higher nicotine than a traditional cigarette. Some children and toddlers who come in contact with electronic cigarette devices or liquid nicotine have become very ill, some even requiring emergency department visits, with nausea, vomiting being the most significant symptoms. Sometimes it can be salivation, vomiting, dizziness, seizures. And this data is from the National Poison Data System of American Poison Centers. This is another one. This is more focused on monthly number of cases per month of 2022. And these are exposure cases. So the term exposure means someone who has had contact with the substance in some way. For example, ingested, inhaled, absorbed by the skin or the eyes. And not all exposures are poisonings or overdoses. So you can see how it's creeping up. So a study, this is another study released in October. So this is very recent, of 2022, from the US FDA and the CDC found that that was the beginning, one of the beginning slides, 2.55 million US middle and high school students reported that in the past 30 days, they use e-cigarettes. 14.1% of those 2.55 millions were high school students, and 3.3% the use was among middle school students. And nearly 85% of those youth used flavored electronic cigarettes. And more than half used the disposable e-cigarettes. So it's pretty high. Now, why, as parents and as healthcare professionals and school administrators, we wonder, why do teens use electronic cigarettes? A lot of them, honestly, when talking to them and studies, they perceive little risk. So it's lack of knowledge of using electronic cigarettes. They believe it is just flavored water with no nicotine. They help it to relieve boredom, to make them feel good, to be cool, forget the troubles and relax, satisfy their curiosity, like what's this new, new trend? Ease their pain, feel like make them feel like they're grown up, and show some independence. Their friends are doing it. They want to be cool. They want to follow the group, the herd, belong to a specific group. So oftentimes it's to explore, but they are, like I said, they're unaware of how dangerous they are. They just perceive little risk. They think it's just flavored water with no nicotine. So the risk, now we're going to cover the risk of electronic cigarette use in teens. Long-term effects are still being researched. So as they collect data and the outcome, injuries, they're going to figure out more and more what are the effects on their health. They use among teens remains in one about every 5 teens in the US use electronic cigarettes. Various types can be appealing. Like I mentioned earlier, they're discreet to use in schools, indoors. Some are very little, like there's no smoke. They're small. It's easy to conceal. Another risk is like they're targeted advertising to teens by the flavors, by the media, by the shape, the way they look. In youth and young adults, nicotine can harm brain development, which continues until about the age of 25 years old. So their brain is still developing, even for young adults. Defective batteries have caused explosions and fires, and I have pictures later. You will see some examples of the damage. So more information, why is nicotine unsafe for kids, teens, and young adults? Most electronic cigarettes and vapes contain nicotine. It's a very addictive drug in regular cigarettes, cigars, and other tobacco products. CDC study found that 90% of electronic cigarettes sold in assessed venues of the US contain nicotine. And some vape products, even though their label discloses that contain 0 nicotine, it has been found that they do, in fact, contain nicotine. Nicotine can harm the developing adolescent brain. As I mentioned, and I want to emphasize, it keeps developing until about the age of 25. Using nicotine in adolescents can harm harm parts of the brain that control the attention. So I want you to know that if you're using these electronic cigarettes, it's going to harm your attention, your learning, your mood, and way to control your impulses. It's going to be harm. So each time a new memory is created or a new skill is learned, stronger connections or synapses are built between brain cells. So young people's brains build synapses far faster than adults. So this nicotine changes the way these synapses are formed. So using nicotine in adolescence may also increase the risk of future addiction to other drugs. So there is a correlation also on that. The nicotine toxicity, it could be mild, it could be moderate, it could be severe. So early nicotine toxicity might include possible nausea, vomiting, dizziness, anxiety, tremors. Moderate could be pale, sweaty skin, increase of heart rate and blood pressure. More severe early nicotine toxicity might include respiratory secretions and seizures. Now, late nicotine toxicity, mild could be diarrhea, moderate could be weakness, lower the heart rate and blood pressure, so it's the opposite of the early, and severe could be paralysis, respiratory depression, and dysrhythmia. So this is, remember those particles and also the chemical that was used also in the popcorn industry. So the outbreak of lung injury associated with the use of electronic cigarettes or vaping products. So something called EVALI symptoms. And these are the symptoms: cough, abdominal pain, fever, shortness of breath, nausea, vomiting, chills, chest pain, diarrhea, and weight loss. I'm not a physician, I'm not a doctor, but reading these and learning about these, it makes us aware of the dangers and the risk that we're taking by using these products. This is inside of a lithium battery. So it kind of like the diagram of, with the two poles, the positive and negative, what's inside, the ions, and the. So this is examples of pictures of teens or young adults where the batteries, there've been cases that of explosions of the battery. You see one was near the face, so you can kind of like infer that it was really close to the head or probably in the mouth. When it exploded, the other ones looked like in the hand, or maybe they had it in the pocket and it exploded on its own. So this is on the regulatory status. So the FDA has taken action against youth vaping. And the FDA does not approve electronic cigarettes. So in 2016, it regulated electronic cigarettes as a tobacco product. In 2018, it warned about the addictiveness. In 2019, the legislation, the person has to be 21 to be able to purchase these products. And in 2020, it restricted the being mailed because for being a hazard, probably because of the lithium batteries exploding. Just last year, very recently, on November 16 of 2022, issued warning letters to 5 unauthorized marketing companies. They didn't submit a pre-market application for any authorization of these products. And these puff boys, these companies are using electronic cigarettes and they package it to look like toys, food, cartoon characters, or TV characters from series that, what is alarming is that like you're gonna see through this picture that is targeting the children, the youth. So this looks like a game. These are vapors, electronic cigarette, and the toy, like a walkie vape. It's a pre-filled disposable ENS. Remember, ENS was electronic nicotine delivery system. TV show, cartoons, characters. So they're targeting our youth. So characters from TV shows, more cartoons. And these are, the names of the products and the companies. These look like glow sticks. So imagine for a young child or even a teen, it looks cool, it's appealing. Like I said, like food. So this here, it's like language for not just in the world of vaping, but so the analog is just the traditional cigarettes. All day vape, the same flavor used all day. The cloud chasing. So these are products that, people that vape, they like to inhale large amounts and they have competitions of puffing the largest clouds out. So the draw, so it's mouth hits or lung hits, dripping, is electronics, liquid placed on the heating, straight right on the heated coil. Flavor ghosting, so mixed flavors after changing. The stealth vaping, so it's hiding use or prohibited. And vapor stone, so it's a dry mouth from vaping. So I'm not going to go into depth into the cannabis and concentrates. So besides nicotine, these type of products can also be added or introduced into the electronic cigarettes. There's super concentration of THC, which is an active ingredient on cannabis that has all the psychoactive, gives the sensations, the symptoms. So for prevention, we learn about what they are, the harm that it could cause, how they look. So prevention. This is also the nicotine can also be absorbed through the skin. So if you're going to use this product, protect your skin when handling the products. Take special care to always keep any nicotine-containing products, including the pens or the electronic cigarettes, and the liquid nicotine out of the reach and out of sight of children. And I emphasize out of sight because children can climb, can open doors and cabinets. So try to use some help with putting latches or locks if you have this product around your house. Now, if you think of someone has been exposed in a dangerous way to an electronic cigarette or liquid nicotine, or if you have a question, you could call the poison helpline at 1-800-222-1222 immediately. I also encourage you, this is a good number, it's a helpline of the National Poison Centers. So it's the same number anywhere in the United States. It works 24/7, around the clock. The person that answers the line is a doctor, a pharmacist, or a nurse with additional training in toxicology, and they will help you assess and give you expert advice depending on any poison emergency or questions that you may have. It's free, it's confidential, it follows the same HIPAA regulations, just like when you go to your doctor or to a hospital. And like I said, it's 24/7, it's never closed. So even during holidays, they're always open and there for you. If they determine that the exposure needs to be seen by a physician or you need to go to the emergency department, they will let you know. This is another tip. There are bags with a lock that you could put your vaping cigarettes if you're the adult using it and you have children and teens around the house. So I recommend the bags for younger children because older children might cut through the bag. It's a thick fabric, but they could still be cut through. There are other preventive devices, kind of like a safe, like a hard box, that you could put your electronic cigarettes or liquid inside for protection, an extra layer of protection. So as I mentioned earlier, poison centers are available 24/7, 365 days a year. And I say 365 because we're open during holidays. Sometimes you would think, oh, it's 4th of July, or it's Christmas, or it's New Year's Day. We're always open. You get free expert advice from doctors, pharmacists, and nurses. It saves time and money, it's confidential, and they do follow-up calls to see how the patient's doing. And you don't have to wait for a follow-up call if you have another question that comes up or if the situation worsens. You could call back before the follow-up call. And the number again is 1-800-222-1222. I strongly advise to save this number in your cell phone because it might be a situation that there's no internet access or you don't have data. Or, it's if you have it right on your contacts, it's easy access. It saves you time for looking up for the number on the internet. There are different resources, as I mentioned on the topic, for teens. This information is available. This one is SWAT, Florida campaigns. The campaign is not a lab rat. So you can become a member if you go to their website. And there are different activities in community education, outreach, public speaking, media advocacy. There's more resources for teachers and school administration. They have lesson plans and activities for different age groups and grades. Teen cessation for smoke-free. Also poison centers. I'm going to put the link. We have a flyer for e-cigarettes and vaping and safety. You could also visit our website, Florida Poison Centers, and go into the education section. And there are a lot of resources on different topics, but on today's, there's also a very good flyer. It's bilingual. One side is in English, the other side is in Spanish, about electronic cigarettes and tips for safety for small children, teens, and adults. And this one is for resource for parents, how to talk, to your children, to your teenagers on vaping, with information, the 1-800 quit now. So there are many, many resources available to help you with it. Let me show you this quick video. This is silent, just reading. It's just so you have an idea how these electronic cigarettes are very discreet. It could be easily camouflaged with, everyday objects, cosmetic, school supplies, or USB memory sticks.
Lisette, before you, oh, never
Sorry,
mind.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say before you hit that play button, we had a question
Yes.
in the risks of e-cigs use in teens. Is the 1 in 5 teens the age range of 13 to 19?
I'll go back to that slide. Hold on one second. Oops, never mind.
Well, go ahead and play the video and then you can go back after this.
Okay.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, a lot of, let's see if we could go back to, I believe it was earlier. Yeah, this is on teens. It was on teens. So yeah, 13 through 19, that's the teenage. I hope that answered your question. It's pretty alarming.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. And so in conclusion, what we learned today, nicotine is a stimulant, is highly addictive. There are many varieties of ends, as you know, we saw slides of different shapes and different tanks, mods, and the same with the electronic liquid. Remember, N stands for electronic nicotine delivery systems. The FDA has been on our side, changing regulations to address youth vaping. It's a health risk, not only physically with the cough and the seizures and the blood pressure rising or decreasing, but also we realize it affects the development of the brain. You know, the way focusing in school or changing in the moods or irritability, and the correlation of they're gonna be also smoking the electronic cigarettes, traditional cigarettes, and also that they believe that there is a high possibility that it's gonna lead them into using drugs. As we can see, some put cannabis products into the devices, and it's a very high concentration of THC. Also a health concern with the burns, you know, valley, the pediatric ingestions, and also exposures through the skin, because it's absorbed through the skin. As I mentioned, the concentrates have high levels. The cannabis concentrates that they put on these devices are very, very high levels of THC, the active ingredient in cannabis or marijuana. We could go over questions. Feel free. I like. I know it's hard when we're through a screen, but Angela has been gratefully helping me on previous presentations with questions in the chat. And this, if you take your time, you can use your phone or go back later on the YouTube and take a quick, these are, I think it's about 5 questions. It's a program satisfaction survey. So we could improve our presentations, or if there's any topic that you would like to hear in the future and learn more about it, feel free to put it on the comment box.
Lisette,
So, yes.
I do have yes, I have something, a question that's in the Q&A. It says that my son thinks as long as there is not nicotine, that e-cigarettes are pretty unharmful. What would you say to this?
Well, going back to, remember when I mentioned that even the labels on their electronic cigarettes and e-liquids, that they're being labeled that it says 0 nicotine products. I mean, 0 nicotine in the products, 0%, and they have tested it. And in fact, it's been falsely labeled because they have found that they have nicotine. So that's a very good question, because a lot of teens, they think it's just flavored water, and they make it, very attractive, and they, flavors like mango, guava, cherry, watermelon. So it's they think it's harmless, like just flavored water, but it's not. I think there's a high percentage, even the ones that are specifically labeled as 0 nicotine percent in it. After they test it, they have found that that's not true the way it was labeled, that they have nicotine in it. So I think you could talk to your child and show the video and go through the slides and see that, that's why the FDA is on top of these companies, because it's misleading. And they're all the advertisement, it seems like it's towards the youth, making products look like toys, like cartoon or TV characters, or, making it look fun, like a trend. And it's no joke. It's not a safe product.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Are there any carcinogens other than nicotine in the e-cigarettes that they would still be breathing in?
Yes, I'm going back to the slide that had all the heavy metals and cancer-causing chemicals. Besides the nicotine, and it had the ultrafine particles, and it had those chemicals linked to serious lung disease, that Ebola, that it was found in some popcorn flavorings, volatile organic compounds. So yes, they do have cancer-causing chemicals, to answer the question. They do.
I have another question. Yes. Okay. Covered that one.
So like I said,
thank you.
You're welcome. Other than what also concerns me is, how it changes their mood, the attention, the learning, and the way to control the impulses. So this is also part of the risks of, the nicotine. Why is it unsafe in teens and kids and young adults? The brain is still developing. And like I said, it affects those synapses, and those are the ones that make the connections when they learn a new skill. So it changes the ways they are formed, the new synapses. So that's why, it affects the attention, the learning, the mood, and the impulse control. It's all in red here, so it pops out like the age. It's still developing. So, I was a parent when I was 25. So just to think that my brain is still developing at that age when I already had children of my own, it's an eye opener. So, there are resources you could, I think when they know, like the main thing is they think it's like flavored water. When you sit with it, instead of scolding, you show them the information, you talk to them, you go to all these resources that were on the last slides. Yeah, it is time consuming, but it's worth it. I think once they know how it could affect them breathing, their performance in doing sports, at that age, they're into sports, into being successful, highly competitive. They want to win, whatever sport they're playing. If it's gonna affect their breathing, their performance, they probably are more likely to stay away from this. And they're learning to, and their mood. So sometimes you wonder why I cannot focus, why I cannot concentrate, why am I struggling? And you don't realize, okay, are you being vaping? Is there something else? Is it just nicotine? Have they moved on to the cannabis? So all these questions you need to talk to your child, and if you are, school administrator, have presentations, like the school district did. It's having all these series of webinars, different topics we've been doing once a month, and they've been recording them. So you could go back to the YouTube channel and revisit and sit with your child and learn from it. Hopefully, this is something that they could learn and have that image that it's false. And it's false in ways that, when you buy a product and you read the label and it says zero, like, you look at the calories, or you look at how much sugar is in it, or whatever, depending on what you're buying, or the size, if you're going to buy a shirt or shoes. If you're buying some electronic liquid nicotine and it says 0% nicotine, you're going to trust that label. You're going to think, yeah, this is what it has. And then they go behind the company, or the companies, or the FDA, they test it, and it's false. So it's false information. You cannot trust everything you read just because you buy it and you pay for it. And know that, if you have any questions or you have any exposures, there is another great resource, and that's us, Poison Centers, and it's the 1-800-222-1222. So this is help over the phone, and it works 24/7.
Well, thank you so much, Lisette. We really do appreciate you sharing this powerful information, much needed, because we really do want to be there for our students and our children, and make sure that they are in the best safe environment as possible. and whatever we can do to help. Always remember 1-800-222-1222 for any questions and medical advice. Don't be afraid to use the number. So with that, we say thank you, and we appreciate your participation in our seminar. We do have a lot more, so just stay tuned. And again, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you'll get this and other videos. You can share this with your friends, or you can go back and look at it and share it with your family and your babies, your other students. So thank you. If there are no more questions, we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
All right,
Thank
everyone
you.
have a good evening.
Thank you.